I actually am the Chief Program Officer here at Epicenter, and we are an entrepreneurial hub for our region, and we support a system of partners and entrepreneurs with capital, customers, and talent, helping a number of companies be able to launch and grow. So that's a little bit about me.
Now, Regina don't like me saying this because we actually used to work together at Tech Time, but she was my boss at one time. So I got to put that out there because I learned so much from Regina. So thank you, Regina. Hey, Jesse. Come on, Jesse. Mr. Cole. So the irony of this, I have some business partners on here as well. And Jesse is my business partner with the Cole Galloway Media, which is the production company for my TV show. So Jesse, you want to introduce yourself and your background?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having me on, Warren. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited about what's going to happen tonight. My name is Jesse Cole. I'm the CEO of Kingdom Mogul Coaching. We help you grow your as you grow your business. And I get the pleasure of helping you engage with your experiences and then pull out those principles and lessons from those experiences to create a message you can monetize. And so we help people to pretty much
go back to
their life experiences with Kingdom Mogul Coaching. I'm excited to be able to work with Mr. Warren Galloway as the executive producer of his fourth doing business with Warren Galloway. And I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen tonight.
Thank you, Jesse. So for those of you who attended the National Microloan Conference that I hosted last September, one of the great things is I'm around a lot of talented people. And Jesse was responsible for the workshops for 2 days in this one room. And I mean, he handled it like a king. I mean, I had people telling me he was participating, he was giving advice, he was giving guidance. So just a talented young brother that we're going to see a lot more in the upcoming future, okay? Next, I want to invite my co-author of my latest book, which is Lawrence Jackson. What is that called, Lawrence?
Say that again. What's that? Say it.
What's the name of our book?
Oh, it's the one that's on the far left, and it says Basic Questions About Starting a Business in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
My first
book, Lawrence
Warren's
and I work together at Tech Time. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself, Lawrence.
Yes, indeed. I am excited. Again, thank you, Warren, for inviting me. It's good to be here in this good company and ready to talk about some financial issues, access to capital. I got a banking background. I've been working as a business advocate and a business consultant for probably the last, I won't say that, okay. Y'all can, I shaved off all my gray hair so you wouldn't know how old I was. So, but it's exciting. I have my own business called the Emerging Enterprise Group, where we help people with financial strategies as well as taxes. And I am just anxious to get going. And it's rare that I'm in this good company, so I'm really enjoying this.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Lawrence is also a business partner. He's 1/3 of the co-owners of Business Triage System. The other co-owner of Business Triage System is Laura Sigmund. Phenomenal professional, absolutely phenomenal. She has made a name for herself, not only in Detroit, but she has made a name for herself in Flint, all throughout the state of Michigan. And we're trying to go nationally. So Laura, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Warren. And thank you to your esteemed panel, because I think I'm in such great company. I'm feeling a little short on the stack, Warren. I'm feeling like the short end of the stack. I'm Laura Sigmund. I own Best Practices Consulting Services. Our practice has been around for now 12 years. And I think what's going to be really unique in this conversation as we talk about pivoting and access to capital, what does that look like post-COVID? I'm really excited about being a business owner and a consultant at large, because everything we're doing right now is so real time and so really, really, really relevant for the particular ecosystem. I've enjoyed being a business owner, but I really enjoy learning more about other people's businesses and designing process for their business. So I thank you for allowing me to be on your conference.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started. But before getting started, I just want to let those who are on this call know that we are giving away some free books. If you can look on the screen right now, there are 3 books that I'm going to be giving 2 copies of each. And how are you going to win this? Well, at the end of my presentation at the symposium, I'm going to ask you a question, and you have to email me at my email address, which is warren@microloanconference.com. The answers. The first 6 people to respond to me will get a free copy of the book mailed to them. So one of them is the newest book that literally just came out today. I got it in the mail, which is the one Lawrence and I put together. Basic question and answers about entrepreneurship. I have a youth entrepreneurship book called 10 Easy Steps to Start a Business, Youth Edition. And then actually you see 2019 on here because this was the book that every single attendee at my conference, the National Microloan Conference, received. And in this book are all the major lenders in Michigan. So it's a one-stop shop. It's a very valuable book because no one else has brought together the list of lenders in one book but me. And I'm going to be giving this out. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have an agenda. Very first thing is the bio. I really don't want to talk much about myself. The bio is on there. And then I'm going to talk about some of the micro lenders that are here in the community. Then what's most important is how do you identify the right micro lender? And then we're going to do some business case studies. And the business case studies will be an overview of some scenarios. And you as guests will have to answer questions concerning these business cases, because this is going to be an interactive workshop during the first half. So we're going to go ahead and get started. That's me. Let's keep going. I've published 9 books, 6 books on entrepreneurship. Let's keep going. My bio, and I'm going to get to the meat of it. Okay, let's get started. So who are the top lenders in Detroit? I'm using Detroit as an example, but in other communities, they have lenders as well. So in Detroit, when we talk about pursuing capital, most people think, okay, I'm just going to go to a bank and get financing. But Detroit is in such a unique situation because we have multiple types of lenders. I call them community lenders and micro lenders. Micro lenders are typically lenders who lend $50,000 or less, and community lenders are typically those who lend up to $50,000 or more, but less than the bank. The first lender I'm going to talk about is Detroit Development Fund. Detroit Development Fund is what I would consider to be a community lender because they will lend $50,000, but they also will lend $250,000. So if you have a project that needs more than $50,000, they might be a lender that you might want to meet with and talk to them about funding your business. Then we have Prosper Us Microloan. Now, Prosper Us is what we consider to be a true micro lender. They lend $50,000 or less. Now, one of the things I took out of this presentation is the definition of a micro lender. What's great about a micro lender versus a bank? Well, most banks are what we call credit score driven, whereas micro lenders are credit driven. Now, whenever I give a presentation, I say that, people will be like, well, it's not the same thing. It isn't. Listen to this. So if you go to a bank and you apply for a small business loan, what is the very first thing they're going to do when you apply for that loan? Run your credit, right? Okay. They're going to look at their underwriting guidelines and see what the minimum FICO score is. Then they're going to look at your FICO score. And if you don't at least have that minimum score, they're going to turn you down. The great thing about micro lenders and community lenders, they take a look at your credit, but they also want to know why you have bruises on your credit. If you have it, if you have bruises on your credit, why do you have those bruises on the credit? But guess what? It does not stop the process from moving forward. So micro lenders have the flexibility to work with you if you have bruises. If you don't have any bruises, that's fine. But if you have some bruises, they can work with you. And that's the beauty of micro lenders. The next loan I want to talk about is called Michigan Saves. Michigan Saves is a phenomenal loan program because it's a energy efficient type loan program. They lend more than $50,000, but they lend less than what a traditional bank will provide. And their interest rate, I'm not sure what the rate is right now. Laura, do you know what the rate is right now? Is it 1%, 2%, 3% right now?
Can't tell you.
I want to say it's 3% more. I do want to say
it's 3%. But what, a year and a half ago, the interest rate was 1%. So they typically keep a low interest rate, but it's a reimbursement. And it's based upon how energy efficient is your location. Typically, this is a good loan for restaurants, because most restaurants, especially new ones, buy a lot of equipment, they have a lot of lighting. And if you work with the contractors that they have that to ensure that you're energy efficient, it's a buy down. It brings down your interest rate and it keeps that rate really low. So it's a really good loan for those energy efficient businesses that we have in our community. And then we have CIBC Bank. I think Marcus is on this call. Is Marcus on this call? I think he is. He must still be on mute. Marcus Jackson, one of our buddies in the lending world, he works for CIBC Bank. Now, you won't see a lot of banks on this list because a lot of banks, how can I say this? They don't get the community lending aspect of funding businesses. But let me say CIBC Bank is one of those banks that get it. They have loan products that are similar to microloans, but they come from a traditional bank. And Marcus Jackson, who works for CIBC Bank, he is the representative for them. He does a phenomenal job of working with numerous small businesses in the city and helping them access capital through his organization. The other great thing is his company provides lines of credit, because sometimes you might not need just a term loan, you might need a line of credit for working capital. So CIBC Bank is one of those banks I highly recommend. Then we have LIS. LIS has a loan program. We don't see a lot of that product in the community, but they absolutely do have a loan product. And I think they're lending more since the COVID-19 pandemic has started. Then we have SEED, which is a microloan that is up under the Michigan Michigan Women's Business Council, I believe is the name of the organization. SEED lends $50,000 or less. There's a trick to getting funding from SEED, and most of us in the industry know this. If you apply for more than $20,000 from SEED, you have to have 2 denial letters. But if you apply for less than $20,000, you won't need those denial letters from 2 other financial institutions. So it's a little trick with dealing with SEED, but they do have a really, really great microloan product. Then we have Access. Access is an organization that's based in Dearborn. They have a small microloan fund. I think their microloan fund, you have to at least come through their entrepreneurial program to be able to access it, but that is funding if you do go through their entrepreneurial program. Then we also have the Biz Loan Fund, which is through the Detroit Community Loan Fund. That's Deborah Jones. She's the representative from the Detroit Community Loan Fund. She's phenomenal in working with entrepreneurs. She has probably the most flexibility in terms of providing access to capital than any of the lenders that we have here on this list. Then, if you have a food-based business, you can also go to the Michigan Good Food Fund. That is a statewide lender. And I failed to mention this. Some of these lenders do have geographic limitations, meaning that they might only lend in certain areas. But then we have some statewide lenders. So out of that list that I provided, up until Michigan Good Food Fund, I believe SEED is statewide. I believe LIS is statewide. CIBC Bank is based upon the census tract, so it depends if you're a low to moderate census tract. The rest of those are kind of restricted to either Detroit or the metropolitan Detroit area. Now, Michigan Good Food Fund is a lender that lends statewide, so just to know that. The next one is the Michigan Employment Loan Fund, and a lot of people might not know much about this loan fund, but this loan fund lends to people with disabilities. If you know someone that has a disability, this is a really good loan fund. It's a microloan fund strictly for those who have a designated disability that need some additional capital for their business, especially when you have a disability and say you need a vehicle that needs to be modified to get you around. Well, they provide loans for the modification of your vehicle, as well as supplies and equipment and so forth. So I've used them a number of times, so they're a really good micro lender. Then we have First Children's Finance. First Children's Finance is a micro lender who provides support to child care facilities. I actually have a meeting on Monday with a client, Laura, the client you referred to me, Kelly. We have a meeting with First Children's Finance on Monday. The Opportunity Resource Fund, that's a statewide lender, as well as First Children's Finance and Michigan Employment Loan Fund. They lend statewide. So if you're not in the Detroit area, you still can apply for the funding from these lenders. And then we have the Kiva microloan. The Kiva microloan is a combination of a loan and a crowdfunding product where you have to match some of the money that they lend to you. But what's really great about the Kiva microloan is that the interest rate is 0%. And I believe, in some of the professionals on this call, I believe the max is 10,000. Am I correct? Laura? I think it's 10,000. So if you just need a small amount of money, this might, and you have a great network, the combination of a microloan and a crowdfunding product is the Kiva loan, and it might be a really good fit for you. Now, when funding your business, there are other resources. There are grants, there are crowdfunding programs, there's investors. So microloans are not the only way to fund your business. So there are other ways. Now, this slide, when I talk about microlending, to me, this is the most important slide. It says how to identify the right lender. But in theory, it should say, here are 12 questions you want to ask a lender when you sit down in front of them. Because each one of these items here are important for you to know whether you should go with that one particular lender versus another, okay? Let's talk about these 12. These are the most important things. First thing is, do you need a line of credit or do you need a term loan? Do they offer a line of credit? Do they offer a term loan? A lot of the lenders might only offer a term loan, but guess what? Maybe you're opening up a restaurant and you need money for the build out of the restaurant, but you also need money for working capital. So Lawrence, let's talk about this. Lawrence is my finance guy. If I need 300,000 and I'm doing I need 200,000 for a build out, so I need a term loan. How much should I get in the line of credit, Lawrence?
Well, that really depends on the type of business that you have and what that line of credit might be used for. If you're looking to have money available for employees or buying supplies, you want to make sure you know the cost of those items, the cost of the employees, as well as the cost of the supplies to get things started. And because that line of credit is for short-term needs, you really want to be able to pay that line of credit down or possibly off in a 1-year time period. So
how would you know how much you would need for that line of credit? What document would you look at?
I would look at the research that I did on the supplies that I need, as well as the cost of my employees. So if let's say I've got 2 employees, or better yet, let's say I've got 10 employees, I'm going to pay them all $15 an hour. So work that math out a little bit. I would want to have at least 60 to 90 days of salary for those employees.
And where should that information be located, Lawrence? Where should it be located? What document should have that information?
That document should be in your business plan or your loan proposal.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
You didn't tell me I was going to have to take a quiz.
I knew you would get it right. So thank you, Lawrence. So you need to find out, based on the type of business, how much is your build out cost, and how much would you need for working capital? And how do you determine how much you need for working capital? Take a look at your financial projections in your business plan. If you think you need 3 months of working capital, you should be able to go straight to that business plan and add up 3 months worth of working capital, looking at your salary and other expenses. If you need 6 months, you should be able to go to that business plan. And I'm going to talk about the business plan a little bit more, but your business plan is very, very important in this process. Yeah. Let's keep moving. So the type of business that will lend to you, okay? Some businesses, I'll give you an example. If you're a women-owned business, will the Michigan Women Forward lend to you, which I didn't talk about? Yes, they will. Even though they are a women, it says Michigan Women Forward, and you would think they would only lend to women. They do lend to a few men. They tell me, listen, we make a few exceptions for men. So they will lend to some men. But I mentioned the Good Food Fund. The Good Food Fund, if you have a shoe store, can you get a loan from the Good Food Fund? No, because they focus on food-based businesses. Each microlender has a mission, and that mission dictates the type of businesses they will support. So you need to find out what type of business will one particular lender support. If they do not support your type of business, then there's no need for you to even apply for funding through that lender. So the type of business you have can dictate who will lend to you. The amount that you need. I've already said that if you need $50,000 or less, you can go to those micro lenders that I listed. Or if you need more than 50,000, you can go to Detroit Development Fund or Opportunity Resource Fund. One of the things that we talk about a lot in this industry is something called capital stacking, right, Regina? Mm-hmm. And capital stacking means that if you need 100,000, maybe you can get 50,000 from one lender and 50,000 from another lender. Or maybe you can get 70,000 from one lender and get 30,000 from another. In the Detroit community, we do that all day. That's how we make deals work. We do capital stacking. We work with multiple lenders to provide access to capital to our entrepreneurs to get their doors open. So you hear that word capital stacking. I also use leveraging the lenders as well, where you find multiple lenders are lending to entrepreneurs for their business, and that's called capital stacking. The next thing is geographic location. I mentioned before, some lenders will lend in Detroit, some lenders will lend in metropolitan Detroit, and then some lenders will lend statewide. So you need to know the geographic limitations that we have. If you don't mind, someone could put their call on mute. I'm hearing a little background noise. Thank you. Let me keep moving. Some lenders also lend based on ethnic, race, nationality, or gender. You need to find out if your lender is one of those. Collateral on that. Most micro lenders do provide collateral, but there are some that don't provide collateral. If you are a person that don't have collateral, you need to find out from that lender if they need collateral, because if you don't have collateral, the deal might not work. So you need to find out if they offer collateral. Each one of these, I'm saying, are literally questions that you can ask of each of the lenders. You can turn these into questions to find out about that micro lender. Percentage of personal equity. You know, we went through that mortgage crisis. What was it? 2008, I believe it was, right? Michael James, 2008. Those 100% deals, lenders do not like to see a 100% deal where they give you 100% of the financing for your business.
2007.
Which is 2007? Okay, 2007. But what we're seeing now is that you have to bring something to the table, which means that you have to have some cash, equity investment, a grant, or something to put on the table. But what you got to find out from talking to the many different lenders is, how much do you have to bring to the table? Is it 5%? Is it 10% of the deal? Is it 15%? Is it 20%? It all depends on the depending on the lender and the case-by-case situation. So you need to know how much personal equity you have to have in order for you to get approved by that lender. Number 8, most lenders do require a professional business plan. On this call, we have a number of professionals who actually write professional business plans. That's your roadmap. That's how you communicate to the lender how you're gonna operate your business over the next 3 years. But more importantly, how are you going to pay them back their loan money? And are you going to be profitable? So your financials that are in the back of your business plan are critical when a lender is evaluating your business for funding. It has to show that you can pay that lender back and still be profitable. So very important, have a business plan. Now, there are a few lenders that don't require a business plan, but like CIBC Bank, for their loan products, they don't require a business plan. And there are a few others. So, but you need to ask, do I need a business plan to apply for your funding? Number 9, and this is important. So if you're doing, and I've seen some mistakes made that were financially, became financial barriers for small business owners. Just because you are approved for a loan does not necessarily mean that that loan is the best loan for you. And what I mean by that, say you get a loan for a restaurant. Restaurants were popular prior to COVID-19. And you get $100,000 from this one lender along with other funding. And you say, yeah, I'm excited, I got the $100,000, you close on it, you draw down on it. But the question you didn't ask in the beginning was, when do I have to start paying it back? if you have to start paying back that loan 30 days after you close on the loan, is that a good loan for you? Because you're building out the restaurant. No, it's not. If it's going to take you 2 to 3 months to build out your space to open up to generate revenue, and your loan payment is due 30 days later, you got a little problem there. You have a gap. You are required to make payments back to that lender, and you have no revenue coming in. So just because you were approved, that meant that loan was good for you. So you need to look for another loan that offers better terms. What I mean by that, for instance, some lenders, once you get approved for the $100,000, you close on it, you might not have to pay it back for 3 more months. Well, guess what? If your build out is 2 to 3 months, that works great for you because you don't have to make a payment until you open up your restaurant. And then some of the lenders, not only will they require your payments, but they might give you interest-only payments after that first 3 months to keep the payments low. Or you might have a lender that say, listen here, you do have to start paying back this loan within 30 days, but guess what? It's only interest-only payments. It's very low. So you need to find out, when do you start paying back your loan, and how that will affect you in terms of your business. Just because you were approved for money does not mean that you should take that money. You need to shop around and find a lender that fits best in your situation. Let's keep moving. Mackenzie, can you turn that off for me? Working capital. We talked about that already. You need to determine if you need working capital for your business. And we've already gone through that, so I won't go over that anymore. Customer service. I put customer service on here because a lot of us don't take this into consideration, but because of COVID-19, to me, it stands out more so than anything else. If you are dealing with a lender and you're having bad customer service in the beginning, before you even close on your loan, can you imagine what it's going to be like when COVID-19 came around and you're trying to deal with that same lender that you had bad customer service? So if you have 2 lenders, one that provided excellent customer service, and one that provided bad customer service, which lender should you go to? You might say, well, listen here, I don't care about the customer service. This other lender offers an interest rate that's 1% less. Yeah, but guess what? Sometimes you run into financial difficulties. You might have to go back to that lender and ask for a forbearance. Like, hey, I can't make this payment. Can put that payment on the back end and let me skip a payment? If it's a bad, contentious relationship with that lender, do you think they're gonna help you out? I would say probably not. But guess what? There's other lender, which is 1% more, provided outstanding service and said, listen, you have any problems, please come back. We'll work with you. Well, I'm going to go with that lender because I know there's a probability, a small probability or high now, that I might have to go back and ask them to help me out a little bit as a business owner. Very, very important. And the last thing is interest rate. Now, did you notice interest rate is number 12? It's not number 1. When you normally look at loans, what is the first thing that you look at? Typically, what is that? I want to know the interest rate. To me, that's the 12th thing that you need to be talking about. I think you need to go through all 11 of these other points before you get the interest rate. Because if someone offers you a good interest rate, it does not mean it's a product that fits you. So all 12 of these items that I have listed here, you want to formulate the questions. Before you even submit an application, you want to talk to the loan officer and ask these 12 questions, and then do a comparison. What you're trying to do is find the best lender, not only for you personally, but for your business. And you have to know the right questions to ask. Are there any questions about this slide? It's a lot of information. I actually talk about it in a couple of my books about these 12 different steps. So if you win the book tonight, you'll get this in writing as well. Any questions? So what I want to do, and I only have time for one, I want to go through a business case study. And that means some of you are going to have to unmute your calls. And I'm going to give you a real example of a restaurant that I've helped in the past. And what I'm going to have you do is capital stack and fund this deal. And the reason why I put a business case here is because this is what you're doing as business owners anyway. Your business is a business case. And you need to know how to strategically look at funding your business by finding the right partners to come on board to fund your business. So let's look at this one case, and then we're going to go straight into the symposium. Business case number one is a restaurant. And I have what they call red herrings. Red herrings are, I got some stuff in here that are not important, and it sends you down the wrong path. So be careful. It's a restaurant. It's located on Livernois and Grand River. Your capital need is $350,000. It's owned by a Hispanic female. This person has good credit. This person will also hire ex-felons and low-income employees, and this is a Michigan limited liability company. How do we fund this deal? Can someone tell me what loans we can capital stack to fund this deal? Anybody want to give it a shot? It's not that difficult. So I got, it's not that difficult. How are we going to fund this deal? Go ahead, Lawrence. How are we going to fund this deal?
Anybody need a lifeline? They need a lifeline?
You mentioned that
How are we going to
phone a friend. Mike?
that there was a creditor that specialized in restaurants, so I will start there and then look
That's
at the
good
other
food
community.
fund. That was a good food fund. So let's say, let's do this together there. Say the good food fund. Let's say they give us $150,000. Okay. You're still short $200,000. Where are we going to get this other money from?
Right. You look at other community lenders. That do
So it's basically choice.
$200,000.
So let's look at, what's that?
Look at the other community lenders.
Okay. So we have a $200,000 gap. $150,000 from the good food fund. Let's say we get another $150,000 from Detroit Development Fund. And I didn't even talk about Invest Detroit. Invest Detroit is another community lender. Now we have $300,000. Where are we going to get the other $50,000 from?
Did you mention a lender that lends specifically to women?
Bam, there you go. Which is the Michigan Women's Forward. I didn't list them, but I did talk about them. Excellent job. So now I got the $150,000 from Good Food Fund. I got $150,000 from Detroit Development Fund, and then I got $50,000 from Michigan Women's Forward. And I'm assuming you brought that up because I said on here, owned by a Hispanic female. And guess what? We just funded this $350,000 deal. We capital stacked this deal and funded it. This is what you're going to have to do as business owners. You're going to have to do the exact same thing I just did in this business case study. And actually, we were pretty accurate in terms of how I helped the particular business owner in Detroit fund her business. So all of you as business owners are business cases, and you need to strategically look and see how you're going to fund this deal. Any questions before we move forward? Okay, real quick, if you want a free book, I need you to email me the name of one microlender. What is the max that they will lend up to $50,000? So who are the microlenders that I talked about? Email me at warren@microloanconference.com, and the first 6 people to email me will get one of these books. You guys got it? Got the email address? warren@microloanconference.com. Now we're going to keep moving because we have this incredible panel of professionals that are here. I'm going to sit down on this one, okay? I love standing, but I'm going to sit down on this one. We're going to go straight into the symposium. So, Laura, Regina,
Yeah.
Lawrence,
Yes.
and Jesse, are you ready?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, so let's get going. So I put together some questions here for the panelists, and it's in the slide presentation. Mackenzie, keep going. One more slide. So one more. There you go. So here are the questions that we're going to go over here. And hopefully we have enough time to get through all of them. We're pretty much on time at 7:40. So this here panelists, Regina, Lawrence, Laura, and Jesse. So we're in the midst of a pandemic, COVID-19. And we know it has devastated communities across the country. let's talk about what effect it has had on entrepreneurs. What are you seeing? What are you seeing? What are some of the support that's out here? What can entrepreneurs do to survive? We do know we have a governor that's really concerned about making sure that COVID-19 does not spread. It was just announced this past week that I think Michigan is the safest state in the country, or the second safest state in the country behind the state of New York. So she's doing something right, but guess what? We got to get our businesses open. So let's talk about that. Anyone want to talk about it? Laura?
You know, it's real for me. I'm living in the midst of this pandemic as a small business owner. So yeah, I really want to talk about it. When we think about repositioning or restructuring our current operation so that we can again engage our market, it is challenging at best because we're trying to figure out how to still yet do this and be profitable when we may have had a series of months with no income. Right. So that's one of the considerations. That's one of the things that we have to take into consideration about how it affects our cash flow moving forward. I think as a small business, we must look not just for the next 30 days, but we have to look at the next maybe 18 to 24 months of what may be required in this new normalcy. I really think that every small business will have to figure out if they have to revisit their pricing structures, their vendor relationships, their lease agreements, any and every input you will need to probably do a little triage on.
McKinsey, the chat room. Got it. Regina. So Regina Ann Campbell at Epicenter down in Memphis. What's going on down there? How is your community down in Memphis handling this COVID-19 crisis?
So, you know, just real quickly, we were going to move into phase 3 here in Memphis in our county, but there have been some new cases, and so we're still in what we call phase 2. But I will also say for us, particularly in Memphis, just like Detroit, we're a majority minority city, in that the Black businesses have been mostly impacted, particularly for us and in our community. Essential businesses are the salons, they are the restaurants. They are where people are gainfully employed, and they are retail. And so for us, we have been leaning to weekly engagements and calls around capital and loans, as well as some grants to support a number of businesses, whether they're salons, food-based businesses, and service businesses, which oftentimes people have forgotten about. And so for us, every week, literally, we have a call with the city folks, with the county folks here, the entrepreneur providers who are here in our network to see what's happening in real time and lend support. I will say, to Laura's point, we are also leaning into helping small businesses with looking at their business models, going back to their customers and having important conversations on what does it look like for their business in this current time where we are, what opportunities there are present for them in their business. With the 800 initiative particularly, that is where we were helping Black businesses with growing. We're doing what we call a sprint program, which is allowing us in real time to help them actually take the time to look at their business model, to talk to their customers, to figure out what's next. We know that Black businesses have a lot, y'all. We carry, you know, our personal lives, our families, you know, our friends, our children. There's a number of things we carry. And so here we're leaning into building support around the Black businesses to help them through this stage of where they are. I will say the entrepreneur in me, I also see this as a time where you're going to see a lot of new businesses innovating, and where there's a capital stack here, we are creating capital to support businesses that are going to have to launch something new, a new service, where oftentimes existing capital isn't situated to be able to support new innovation, quite frankly. And so we're leaning into building a lot of those solutions, because there's going to be some new innovation that's going to happen now, and we want to be prepared to capitalize that.
You brought up something that was key, Regina. We call it, you're going to have to reinvent your business model to survive. And we are seeing that here in Detroit as well. There was one brewery in Detroit, I can't think of the name of it, because basically they were shut down until recently. they started making hand sanitizer. Okay. They created a new income stream to survive this COVID-19 pandemic. And the cool thing about that, if they open up successfully and over time get back their market share, that they might continue to carry the hand sanitizer. I was reading something today about this one clothing company that was about to go bankrupt. They reinvented themselves. They started making non-medical face masks. And guess what? They have record profits during this pandemic selling face masks. So what we're seeing, the businesses that have been able to survive are those who are massaging their original business model and finding other income streams. So that's important, that if you're closed or if you're not selling like you were prior to COVID-19, you might have to go back and rethink your different revenue streams and create some new ones. Jesse, what are you seeing out here in the community now with business owners that you've been working with?
A lot of people that I've been working with, they work in the digital space. So very few of them have, brick and mortar. And so what we've been talking about in my community is the difference between shifting and pivoting. We've been hearing pretty much both terms, but people don't really understand what they mean. And so we've been saying, a shifting is all about the speed of a thing, and a pivoting is all about the perspective and what you see. And so right before the pandemic hit, some people were doing one thing, and now the pandemic hit. Now they have to shift the way that they're doing things. They have to change their position. That doesn't mean they have to change their business name or their content. Sometimes that you just have to repurpose what you have, like that brewery did. They repurposed their brewery from beer to hand sanitizer. So really understanding what that looks like for you and your business. I know for me, when the pandemic hit, I'm like, yes, I'm about to win, right? Because that was my mindset. This is a perfect opportunity to move forward with some of the things that I've done in the past. So before the pandemic hit, I was really focused on face-to-face coaching, face-to-face events. And now we can't do that. So now how do I use that content? How do I repurpose that content and take it to a digital space where people can access it when they want to and are still willing to pay for it? So during this pandemic, as far as revenue, I think I've actually made more in the last 2 months than I've made all last year because of shifting, because of that shifting. And I don't think it's because I'm all that good. I believe it's because of, who I serve. Of course, I'm a faith-based coach of who I serve, and really understanding what I'm hearing and then moving accordingly. And everybody that's around me, I've just been giving that same message. Like, what are you hearing right now? Regardless of what you see, regardless of what the reports are, like, what are you hearing right now? Because whatever you're hearing, that's how you're going to move. And some things that may be uncomfortable to you, but I promise you that if you are obedient to what you're hearing right now, you will be successful. And that's what I'm seeing happen.
All right.
Awesome. That's right. So, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
What do you have to say about what's going on and how businesses survive and what resources are out here? Let's talk about resources, because I think the greatest value that we could bring tonight with this symposium of professionals are the resources that are out here to support entrepreneurs. I'm talking about not only for existing entrepreneurs, but even startups, because guess what? Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, I know all of the micro lenders and community lenders that I talked about, they're still lending money. So you want to talk a little bit about your perspective, Lawrence?
Absolutely. We've been working with businesses to make sure that they understand where their financial baselines are. It's important to know where you stand so that you can catapult yourself going forward. You want to make sure you know how much cash you have available, and you understand what cash flow you need to keep things going. And that's easier said than done. But if you don't have at least a baseline, you don't know how much you made last year. So we've been working with clients to make sure they have a good, solid understanding of their financial situation. And as far as resources go, there's been a lot going on. I mean, there are calls every day. We were on a call today with the AEO group, which was phenomenal. I mean, that call, and so many resources from that organization that the name of the conference is Being Resilient. And I mean, they had micro lenders, they had community development people, had actual business owners, and I've learned so much. I've been on calls with Wayne County, City of Detroit has put up a resource website. There's a lot of grant funding that's available. PayPal just put a grant out. I think it was 500, I want to say 500 million. It might have been 53 million. Laura, do you remember what number that was? Is it 500?
Yeah, it was really close to 500 million because I applied.
That,
So
money is gone. That money is gone. I think as of when it showed the next day by 3 p.m., they weren't accepting any more applications.
Yes. So, but there's a lot of resources from trade associations. I've noticed the restaurants, some of the restaurant associations have really stepped up. There's crowdfunding that's going on. So there's help out there. And I think the main thing that we've been doing is just trying to guide and direct the businesses to the resources that they need, and not just talking, but really helping them to execute the situations. I've done a lot of tax returns for folks that haven't filed for several years, and that's been very interesting. But the main thing is making sure people understand their baseline and grab those resources. If you're part of a trade association, find out what they're doing. C28, a lot of those entities have put out resources, grants, as well as other programs that are available to assist.
You know, I want to make an announcement. I just read today, and this is fairly new, that Wayne County has come out with a $30 million grant program. Is that correct? Is that what I heard correct today, Lawrence? And,
I think I saw
Jesse
that.
and Laura?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And so
I don't know the details.
I say that not only, I don't know the details either, but I say that in showing that additional resources are still coming for entrepreneurs. You have to be diligent in doing the research to find out what are these resources. Laura and
Lawrence.
Go ahead, Regina.
On that point, an important point, I think there's a number of resources that are out here. And I know in Memphis, we work really hard with partners to sort of streamline what resources or information is a value add. It's so much information coming to our entrepreneurs, in particular Black entrepreneurs, right? And so we understand that they don't always have the time or size, like that brewery, to do the business of pivoting on their own.
right.
So when you talk about resources, it's like, who do they look to in our communities to be able to say, this is a good resource, this is something that's valuable to you. I will also say across the nation, there is money and funds being developed. We know that the first round of PPP, there had not been any I was on a White House call around COVID, but the Black Caucus had not been included in that first round. So
That's right.
money can come into market all day. But what's important to us and to me is that the right people are in the room to make the decisions around where that money goes to add real value and impact in community. Because we see funds set up all day. Google has one coming online, and sometimes it's going to the usual suspects. So how is the direct impact coming to the businesses that are mostly impacted in our communities? And that's where we sit in making sure that we are strategic about how we're supporting our businesses who don't have the capabilities. They don't have a vice president to go off and get into business and make decisions. And so when you talk about resource, there's always money out there, but it's not necessarily getting to where the greatest need is and where the innovation is. And so that's where I lean into, that's where we lean into, particularly in a majority minority city, to make sure that resources are getting to businesses. These businesses hire residents, quite frankly. And so
Yes.
I think it's important to, sort of underscore resources all day can be present in market and people can build funds, but are they directed and being built to support those who really need it?
And Regina, I want
great. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Now, I just wanted to piggyback off of that because it's also important for those businesses, for our businesses, to be ready to receive and deploy those funds.
Absolutely.
If you have not taken care of certain baseline things, getting your taxes done, understanding, having, I mean, everybody's not a bookkeeper, and I know I struggle with that myself, but bottom line is prepare to be successful in grabbing those funds. The grants that we did, some of the grants, we had a stabilization grant, and they asked simply for an income statement. And you know, a lot of people did not have that, which can delay your ability to grab those funds. So that would be the only other piece I would add to that, because Regina, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of resources, but are they the right resources, and are they being deployed to our people? But I need our people to be ready. I really do.
Exactly.
Got it. Listen, we have a couple of questions. Mackenzie, what are those questions? I think Lawrence answered the question. Someone asked, can you speak to maintaining your books for readiness? And you basically talked about the financial books already, correct, Lawrence?
Yes, but you can also use, I mean, QuickBooks is not the only resource for keeping records. The main thing with accounting is that you want to document your financial transactions and organize those transactions. If you can do that in Excel, do it in Excel. If you can do that in Wave or some of the other apps that are out here, do it. The main thing is to do it so that you can articulate how much money you've made in the past, as well as document those things. And then you're not guessing or trying to create something at the last minute, so that you can qualify for some of the resources that are out here.
Thank you. Thank you. We have another question. What's the other question, Mackenzie? So the question was, how can you document and be ready? And I think you kind of addressed that in terms of the tools that are out there that will help you get ready. Like you said, if you need to, at minimum, do an Excel spreadsheet, which I used to do early in my business career when I couldn't afford to get QuickBooks, you need to use those tools to get ready for whatever resources that you're going after. And I want to talk a little bit more about one particular resource or source out here that's being talked about a lot, and that's the SBA, PPP, and the EIDL loan. We know that there's been a second round of funding that has been approved by Congress. Can entrepreneurs that are on this call, can they still tap into that funding now before it's depleted?
Yes, they can. They actually should. But the precursors, what everyone has already been talking about, Warren, if you're not ready, you need to have your tax returns ready. You need to have your income statement ready. You have to be able to talk about what your revenue cycles were prior to the COVID exchange. If you don't have that information, then you are, like Lawrence already said, delaying your attempt to be ready. And that money doesn't have infinity behind it. It will expire.
So Marcus posted in there, because I asked, like, well, what partner, right? We can say all day about where the gaps is, like what they need, but where's the partner in the ecosystem that helps them complete those statements to get ready to apply for that money? You know, I know he mentioned Accounting Aid Society as one.
Mm-hmm.
So what other resources are available or partners available to help the business get ready? We utilize a Communities Unlimited, which is a financial partner here, to help us with getting businesses ready. So in you know, the Detroit marketplace, who is that partner? So it's the Accounting Aid Society. Are there others that can help businesses get ready? Not every business can do QuickBooks. Not every business has access or capabilities. And so what partner is available to entrepreneurs?
There's been some
Any
help.
one of our panelists want to answer that? Oh, go ahead, Lawrence.
Yep, there's been some help available through the Small Business Development Center. They're actually ramping up to provide additional help for business owners. SCORE has done some things to help businesses. TechTown has some capacity for that. Laura Sigmund could help some of these folks. since she didn't say it.
And
So-
Lawrence Jackson can help some of these folks as
Exactly.
well. So.
Exactly. I was trying to.
Where you were going, yeah, where you were going with that, but I think there are lots and lots. If you go back to the Detroit Biz Grid specifically, you'll find out that DTE has funded six organizations to do nothing but support the application for PPP and EIDL. So if you're in the Detroit market, go to the Biz Grid, Detroit Biz Grid, and Accounting Aid Society just received, just very recently, within the last 2 months, a nice little chunk of change to ramp up and to support you with the actual application process. I think for sure, if you call me, I will definitely help you. But let me tell you, business owners, if you have a banking relationship, you should lean on them too.
Mm-hmm. Especially for the PPP. If you have a banking relationship, that banker is also the one that is going to help you or make the decision as to whether any of those PPP, payroll protection program funds, are forgivable. And they are from very strict guidelines that the SBA or the federal government have put in place that you want to make sure you follow. And for the economic injury disaster loan, that's a different animal. And I want to go back to something that Warren mentioned earlier, and that's understanding the type of loan that you're looking at. Each one of those loans have a specific purpose, but in the initial phases of the PPP, even though it was and this is when he talked about interest rate and customer service and stuff, this is a perfect example. That PPP in initial phase was a 1% loan, but you had to pay it back in 2 years.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example, a $10,000 loan, if you have a term of 5 years to pay it back, that's about $200 a month. That same loan paid back over a 2-year period, even with a 1% interest rate, you're paying almost $800 a month.
Yes, sir.
So while you're helping, it helps you to have some cash on board to pay your employees, et cetera. If you, one, have to pay it back in a shorter time period, when it's time to pay it back, now you've got a bigger bill, which may actually hurt you or choke off some of your cash flow. So just to reemphasize some of the things Warren was talking about is make sure you understand the type of loan it is and all of the terms and conditions around it, not just the interest rate. Because again, that PPP was 1%, but until people complained and there were people at the table that helped them to kind of wake up, and they made it 5 years, which makes that a whole different animal than it would have been if they would have kept it the way it was initially.
Exactly.
And we do have a question from a guest, but I also want you to compare the EIDL loan before I have this guest speak in terms of the terms. You talk about now 5 years for the PPP at 1%, but the EIDL loan is 30 years at what, 3.25?
3.25.
So if
years.
you got 30 years. So if you got a $74,000 loan, your payment is $300 and some over 30 years.
So
those terms might work out better for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just to piggyback on that, Warren, if you borrow $15,000 at 5 years, that payment is about $300 a month. So look at the difference: $74,000 over 30 years, $15,000 over 5 years. The payment is the same. Why is that important? Because that's a cash flow issue.
Yes,
cash flow is what is all about. If you've got good cash flow, your business can really survive, and you can make better moves when you have a good handle on your cash flow.
Exactly. So I think the customer's guest name is David Bates, I believe it is, that had a question.
Yes.
Okay, sir, go ahead and speak.
How you doing, panel? My question
Good.
is,
Good, great. Thanks for
even
participating.
even though people want to start their own business like
Any other
myself,
questions?
I still have to be mindful that when it comes to this virus, a second wave is still potential to come. I'm in Detroit. So fall is coming in the next couple months. Even though it's 41 million people unemployed. I understand there's grants and everything that's out there, but the issue that I'm seeing that's about to take place, if the children don't go to school, somehow you can't force the economy to jump back and children are at home. That's the number one. Number two, if something is put in place, you still have to look at strategically how to put your business in the right position, because it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years. Now, the federal government, the feds stated that they're going to keep continuing giving a stimulus package. And I listened to what the Trump administration said, another stimulus package is due to come. But right now, they're looking at from the first stimulus, 1,200, see how that's supposed to impact the job market, which it really hasn't done anything. So another one is coming.
Exactly.
I get it. We want to get people to start their company and everything, but if another wave hits, Florida's already back down, California's back down, 15 other states are back down. Michigan, yes, is number 2 as far as 1 or 2 as far as the least affected state. But however, the economy can't just be off and on in certain states. So my question is to the panel. I get it, this money may not be here and et cetera, but if another wave comes, because we already seen shortages in the food, seeing shortages as far as commercial, all that is still coming. I guarantee by September, if kids are not back in school, this what we're talking about right now is not going to flourish, because the majority of people who are unemployed got kids. And if the governor, she already opened the daycare, but keep in mind, if kids start to get sick, it's another ball coming. So how do we start the business, still be prepared for a second wave? Because remember, fall is coming. And this coronavirus is still going to be here. I've been on a lot of Zooms, and a lot of people cannot answer this question. And I understand we Black, we want to give the assistance we can get, but realistically, if another wave hits, it's going to be even worse. Because a lot of people now are not even wearing a mask, not doing anything. I've seen too many parties, driving past parties. So I get it.
Yeah.
But if people are not effectively not doing what is supposed to be done, how can you move your business into a right space and the government closes back down again?
Yeah, well. I'm looking at
yeah.
Yeah,
that's an unknown,
a little
David.
bit earlier. Yeah, so Jesse spoke to it a little bit earlier, right? Some of us, I believe in God quite at the end of the day. And I think too common people, we know that COVID is something that none of us had control over. A lot of things are happening in our world, and it was happening before COVID. At the end of the day, innovation and adversity is when people create businesses. And if you don't believe that you can launch something because COVID gonna stop you, then that's already a barrier. It's a mindset. So at the end of the day, you have to believe in what you bring in. If the Spirit is telling you to develop something and bring it to life, then God's gonna bring everything around you that you need to make it evolve. And COVID or nobody and no kid, whether kid go to school or not, won't matter. I have children. So again, at the end of the day, it's all on what you believe you can bring to market. There are several entrepreneurs who are inventing new things as we speak, and they are doing well in spite of COVID, in spite of whatever. It's all on what you decide to do. Again, I'm a believer that what's for me is going to be what I need to do. I need to map it. If I get stuck in the fact that I have children here and they may not go to virtual school, or that there's going to be another pandemic, we all have heard that, and it may be possible. Where I choose to spend my time is not get stuck in what reality is, but in what is possible and what God said could be. And that's just me speaking from my faith, and that's just how I roll. But I'm not getting caught up in what is logical and what man, woman, child see, because this is an opportunity with this self-shelter for people to truly dig into what it is that you've been called to shift and pivot. There's no more excuses on why you can't do nothing. the one thing COVID has done in this world is hit everybody.
That's right.
What was is no longer. So it ain't no more excuses about what can stop you from advancing. It's all on what you're choosing to do and push past whatever fear that that ground you. That's just me. That's how I live. That's how I roll. If we get stuck in what can't be, COVID done wiped out all of that. So there's no more excuses. So that's what I'll add. And I'm looking at Laura. And
I totally want to.
I know Laura wanted to say something.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
go ahead, Laura.
So to Mr. Bates, who put that out there, as an actual business owner, this is how I scratch every day. This is how I make my living. I've lost 95% of my former income. So I don't need to wait for September to be concerned about what possibilities may happen. I'm concerned today, recognizing that there may be a second wave. As in my intro, I said 30 days is no longer your outlook. You need to be looking 24 months and beyond, with the expectation that this is the new normal. And because of that, we have to reposition. We have to be entrepreneurially alert. We need to look for any mechanism or method that will allow us to convert our assets into a value proposition, no matter what it is. If a bar can turn their liquor into hand sanitizer, then we have to make some assumptions that there's some other things that we can do. Let me tell you what I did for one of my clients. She's actually an event planner. Who's going to weddings today? Nada, nobody. Who's doing major corporate events in the summertime? Nobody at all. So what I made her do was transition her entire business to now she offers wedding engagement strategy. So you got to get married with 3 and 5 or 15 people, but now you can add a marriage counselor on the front end, as well as a yoga instructor. You're doing a whole journaling process where she was charging maybe $5,000 for a wedding. She's now charging $15,000 for the experience. There is a way and an opportunity for all those who seek the opportunity. You cannot stay in a position where you're thinking, woe is me, because you will stay on that side of the fence. Whether the kids stay at home, whether the economy break down, whether 65% is unemployed, it doesn't matter. We are the most resilient people and we will prevail.
Brother Bates.
Hey, this is, if you don't mind me saying something, Jesse, before you speak, the one thing I can say from working with hundreds of entrepreneurs is that whereas we look at COVID as a barrier, has been devastating to the small business community, other people are looking at this as opportunity. Mm-hmm. They are pursuing new opportunities. There are businesses that are making record revenue now in the midst of COVID. But the other advantage of us going through this first wave is that the fact that we know there might be a second wave, we need to be preparing for how are we going to continue to succeed if that second wave comes around. Plus, we need to be tapping into capital that's available now to have it available for our business so that when if that second wave comes around, we can weather that storm. I did a little research on the last pandemic that we had in the United States. None of us were alive. And this was the Spanish flu, 1918, 1919, 1920. And I need to find out how did businesses survive. Yes, there were a number of businesses, 20 to 30% of the small business owners did not make it, but 70% did. They survived. They found a way to survive. So even though there could be a second wave, we know that there could be one. So we need to prepare to survive and thrive and look for new ways of generating revenue, despite the fact that one might come or it might not come. We shall see, but you can survive a pandemic. Jesse, I know you want to say something.
Yeah, Brother Bates, I just want to, I sense the angst in your question, and I get it. I sense the sense of urgency in your question, like I get it. And so my question to you is this, like, what do you believe? Because, you know, we can watch the news, we can read the newspaper, we can even look at the content that we're presenting on here, and all of this is great stuff. It's technical, it's transactional. But I just want to ask you, what do you believe? Like, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your business? What do, like, internally, like, what do you believe?
You asked me if on the panel? I mean, on live?
sir. Like, what do you believe?
My belief is that's a different conversation. I see what I see,
Yes.
and I research a lot of things. So I'm not the type of guy that would sit down with somebody and try to give a rational thought. My questions come through history. I look at what history has done and what's moved forward. I'll share this with you. A lot of people don't realize the COVID was already introduced into the House last year. It became law when Donald Trump signed it in April. So they already knew this was coming. How people letting Bill Gates talk? He's not a doctor. He is a corporate executive talking about Microsoft, but now he's talking about genetics. Something's wrong with that. Now I understand. We're talking business, but this is serious movement. Now I get it, but I still have to be. Now I have a very strong faith, but I still must include what I do not see and what I'm seeing. So I get we can say, well, I believe in God and this, and this. People are dying. The Bible says people die a lack of not knowing knowledge. It's more than to say God got you, but you still have to understand your enemy. You must understand how this is coming at us. Now, this is just for me. You asked my opinion. I'm giving you what my belief is. I have babies to take care of. I am a provider. I'm the king of my castle and my dominion. But I understand in doing business, I must understand that the table that I'm sitting at is more than just what's being shown to me. I'm also seeing what's not being seen. That is my gift. So I get what you're saying, what I believe internally. I know what God has blessed me to do, and I'm doing that. I still have to look at it from the business sector, because what's not being shown to Blacks is a lack of knowledge. It's a couple of key things I know about. Some people may not know on this panel. It's not to say I know something that you don't. It's just I may take a little more time to read something, to research something. That's just me. Because I know on my table, I have to provide it. I'm a man. I have to provide that all the way through. So I know the disparity between Black men and Black women when it comes to funding. I get that. So I have to understand my social network has to be in order. My finances have to be in order, as well as my credit. Even though banks got money that was given to them, they're not loaning like that. Now we can say they are. Okay, let's be realistic. They're not loaning just yet. They're not. Now I have a direct source from the state that I'm getting my information, and I'm being careful how I strategically step out there, because I have to still keep in mind. We can say I could look at 3 to 5 years out, but right now I must deal with the reality. I'm starting it. Right now, it's hustling and bustling to do this, to do that, and I got that. But at the end of the day, I still must rely on my network and still support and create my own network. Because at the end of the day, no one has to do anything for me. Nobody has to assist me. Let's get that clear. I'm also a U.S. Marine, so I understand what I have to do. So I get it, and I support what you're telling me. But I still must look at I don't look at the news per se in that arena. I look at the briefings and certain people who are talking. To me, that makes a lot of difference.
I would love to take the conversation offline, because I don't want to take up the time here. I would love just to hear more of your heart on this subject matter, just so that I can walk with you on this, man. Because I heard it as a father and as a husband, as a provider. Like, I heard that angst, and I want to make sure that as your brother, I align with you on that. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Amen.
Got it. Listen, we have 8 minutes remaining. Are there any other questions? Because the situation that's going on now in society with entrepreneurship and being able to survive COVID-19, it's serious. Yeah. It's serious. Yeah. But the one great thing is there's support out here for you. And David, you did mention, that banks are not lending. Keep in mind, I've only been speaking on micro lenders and community lenders. They are lending money. And in Detroit, they are the biggest funders of the new businesses that you're seeing in the city of Detroit. So when we talk about access to capital, we see it because we're on the front line supporting entrepreneurs. The money is being lent to business owners in Detroit. That much I do know. Are there any other questions? The last thing I want to talk about. Yes, go ahead.
I wanna say, because I can't see the audience and I'm over here hurting because I can't see these people's faces that I'm supposed to be talking to. But I wanna make a quick recommendation. This is something that happened to me. I happen to have really great credit, and banks actually do loan to me. But what happened to me is something that may happen to all of you, and I want you to be prepared for this. If you have open lines of credit and your credit cards, and you're just sitting on them and you're not utilizing them, they will, because of the shrinkage in the marketplace, they may absolutely close them on you. Put something on that credit card, $10, $15, just open it, keep it there so that you don't lose access to it. Any event, David, you need it for future opportunities, right? I can tell you in the last month and a half, I lost about 30 grand in open lines of credit because I just been sitting there. I was ignoring them. I knew I had it. I was always gonna have it. And all of a sudden they are re-strategizing and reassessing their risk assessments too. They are reanalyzing their potential to be in a bad situation because they know, David, that around the corner, if things get really bad, I'm gonna tap access where access is. And they don't wanna be on the line with me. So please, by all means, all of you, if you've got credit cards, be diligent in how you use them. Make sure that you manage the relationships. Call the people and tell them, look, don't close that card. I need that card. Can you reinstate it? Because you may need that futuristically. Do not allow that money to go away.
Then create new money. So, here in Epicenter, we're working to build capital and filling grant and capital spaces where there aren't money, essential businesses and creatives. And so, David, even when you mentioned sort of banks, not lending, this is an opportunity to create new money in new places and ways that people would not fund businesses, quite frankly, Black businesses before. We can talk about Black Wall Street, and there's this new word the millennials are talking about, the Black state, which is basically sort of the Marcus Garvey, sort of the Black Wall Street that we had before. It's such an opportunity to create money where there is no money and figuring out what those new things could be. But don't forget about the youth either, because they got some innovation and ideas that's going to help change some things on how we do business moving forward and from day to day too. So listen to them too.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate
it.
So
So we have 5 minutes remaining. And what I want to do is our panel. I want each one of you to give some parting remarks to the entrepreneurs that are here on this call. But I will also want you to give your contact information. These guys are phenomenal. Jesse, Laura, Lawrence, Regina, they're phenomenal. The resources that they are associated with, their experience, their knowledge, their expertise, we all need to be tapping into what they bring to the table after this call. And this is why I had to pour them on this podium and speak, because I knew they will bring it. And let's hear, we don't have enough time to cover everything we want to discuss. We just don't. So I think connecting after this call is just as important as you actually sitting here listening to us for this last hour and a half. So I'm going to start with Laura because she is giggly and she's excited. So Laura, any parting comments, and then contact information and what services do you provide?
I think we have to pay attention that the market is shifting, the market is changing, but you need to use this thing we call entrepreneurial alertness and a mindset. Be ever vigilant looking for new opportunities. Be ever vigilant looking for new opportunities. I'm a refugee entrepreneur. I never wanted to be in business, and I have been for 12 years because I had to create my own space. And this is how I eat. So I'm going to tell you right now, pay attention and be in a position where you can be quick to jump on the movement, the opportunity that the marketplace will present. I don't know who you are, so I cannot scribe for you your best strategy or your process. But if you want somebody to talk to about some things or some opportunities, my number is 313-265-3062, 313-265-3062. But you've got to get ready. Be ready for the next funding cycle that's coming through. And all grants, they're going to want the same thing: financial fitness, financial fitness. it is a necessity.
Definitely.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Thank you. Jesse, go ahead. Some final comments and your contact information.
Yes. So you already know I'm coming from a faith perspective, not church, but faith. They're different. All right. So number one, obedience and service. Right now is a perfect time to be obedient to what you know you're supposed to be doing right now, and then serve people. A lot of people, they're grabbing for straws and trying to see how much money I can make. Who can I get money from? But I'm going to tell you right now that over the last couple of months, the success of Kingdom Mogul Coaching has come through service. How can I add value right now? So make sure that you have a heart of adding value. Number two, focus on what you're good at and double down on that. You don't have to create anything new. Everything you have, everything you need is already in your house, right? And so double down on what you're already good at. Third, stand on what you believe and lean on that and not what you see. I know we see and we hear a lot of things right now, things that we're calling facts, right? But I'm telling you right now, there's a different sound going forth. I understand it. Believe me, sometimes I'm head-led too. But things didn't change for me in my business until I began to double down on what I was good at, right? And I began to really stand on what I believe. And last, like there's a scripture in Matthew 11:28-30, where Jesus talks about the unforced rhythms of God's grace. Right now we're in this grind culture, this hustle culture. Everybody want to hustle, everybody want to grind. But I'm telling you right now, this is the perfect time to really hear what God wants to do through you in the marketplace. And already done, embrace it and be obedient to it. So you don't got to grind for it. You don't got to hustle for it because it don't belong to you anyway. Whatever comes to you, you're just supposed to be a good steward of it. We've been talking about stewardship all night. All you got to do is be a good steward of what's already in your hands. And lastly, like your answer is in your house. You don't got to go find it. You don't got to copy off anybody else. You don't got to rip off anybody else's idea. Everything you need is already in your hands. So believe that and go forth in that. You can reach out to me.
Your contact information.
Yeah, you can reach out to me at Jesse Speaks, JESSE SPEAKS, jessespeaks@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get to me. Or you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Coach Jesse Cole.
Awesome. Thank you. Lawrence.
Hey, I know that I could add anything else to that. That was those things inspired me. But what I will say in parting is just to kind of reiterate, be prepared. Be prepared. And take seriously the things that God has put on your heart and mind to do. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. You know, I'm more of a technician than anything else. I like to make sure things are done in a certain kind of way, but everybody doesn't operate like that. So the main thing is be prepared, get your financials in order, make sure your financial house is in order. And if you need some help with that, you can reach me at emergebiz1@gmail.com. That's EMERGEBIZ, the numeral 1@gmail.com. And finally, I would say, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. It didn't say maybe, it said will. That's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I save the infamous Regina Ann Campbell for last. You want to close us out, Regina? I know you're in Memphis, so you might want to just give some parting comments, and then we end this call.
So just a couple things. One, on the business side, y'all, please don't forget about consumer behavior has changed. Consumers have more options now. So if you think about your business pivoting or shifting, put the customer at heart first, y'all, because of COVID, particularly Black shoppers, how we shop, who we choose has changed. So you need to be intentional on how you finding your customer and think about consumer behavior. People are totally missing that. So I just wanted to close with, this book has been amazing. Jesse Cole, as he talks about leadership and sort of next steps and leaning into what guides you. Use this season to do a lot of reading. It's good to catch up on Lean Startup again. Just read. And above all things, give yourself grace to take everything day by day. So I'm talking about from a wellness, health thing. It's impacting everybody else. So make sure you do what you must every day to keep your mind, heart, body, and spirit whole. Whether it's walking, reading, please take care of yourselves. In order for you to do what your spirit is calling you to do, you got to be whole mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to do what's next in this path. So whatever that calls you. Daily for a long time, my mother has always said Psalm 23, Psalm 120, 121, and Psalm 91 for a long, long time. Every day, do what you must. Yes. To be whole in this, and look forward to being on the other side. I did put my email address in the chat, regina@epicentermemphis.org. Feel free to reach out to me. I know all of y'all in the ecosystem in Detroit, Laura, Jesse, Warren, LJ, y'all are in good hands with the system there. Like I said, reach out. I appreciate the passion, and we could do this again, and particularly with what David talked about a lot, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are feeling and thinking in that way. So, Warren, there's got to be a second wave of this. So, wish y'all the best. Take care of yourself, and I'll see y'all next time.
Amen.
Thank you. If you need to contact me, my email address, once again, is warren@microloanconference.com. I appreciate every single one of you for being on this call. Our esteemed panel, phenomenal. I already knew that, so that's why I selected the four of you to participate. I hope all of our guests learned a lot from these professionals and learned a lot from the Access to Capital presentation to support you as entrepreneurs. We have the resources, we're in touch with the right people, we have the knowledge, the expertise to provide some guidance to you as we go through this COVID-19 and beyond. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and I'll see those who want to come back next week for the soft skill workshop series next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care.